Ian is one of my friends. We connected, I believe that was last year or so, and we've shared a lot of like ideas on WhatsApp. This guy can stay up for sometimes it is like dawn 1 a.m., 2 a.m. and he's still like on there like sharing ideas, giving feedback. So one of the reasons I brought him on is he's like the go-to guy when it comes to operations in terms of like B2B and then B2C, including like digital products. And one of the problems that most of you share here is okay, you're starting off, you're beginning to promote your offers and you're thinking about how exactly should you structure your tech stack, your automations, etc. So Ian, thank you so much for making the time to speak with me. Really appreciate your time.
Nah, man, thank you for having me. I know this has been back and forth, and I mean, I had you on my podcast first. That was awesome. My first guest, my on the new pod I had last December. But
Yeah.
like, it's always a pleasure talking to you, man. I always appreciate your generosity, your time as well. And yeah, I can't say enough of you, Alex. You do give a lot back to the community and to the industry itself. So thank you again for having me on this call.
Awesome, awesome. So that just like getting straight to it, how exactly do you manage your time and like staying up from morning to sleeping around 2 a.m.? How are you structuring your time? Like what systems are you using? Like um let's go through like maybe a day in the life of Ian, like what exactly is happening?
Yeah, interesting actually. I don't know. Where to start, eh? Um, I'm somebody who enjoys talking and working with people. That's
Mm,
probably my strong suit. Like I think if to get not to get too like cheesy into it, but when we're doing all those like wealth dynamics tests or the other one called the 16 personalities, I think it's called the Myers-Briggs one.
mm-hmm,
Like I'm very known to be like very goal oriented, but heavily on people. So when it comes to managing my time, like I like try to do something if I can delegate it or like you said before, find a tool or something to automate that task while I can focus on like talking to people. And I think that's where I get my greatest joy. Like business development, networking, connecting, running teams, and finding like like other contractors or people to kind of help me out with something that I suck at. Like, I'm not technical as much as people think I am. Um, like even when it comes down to like how to like position copy, for example, like which is your expertise, I struggle with it sometimes there. So since day in life, it's interesting. I mean, I try to get most of my like big stuff out of the way. So a lot of times when like, even with the podcast, people ask me like, why aren't you only available after like 4 p.m. my time? Because usually during the morning or the day itself, I try to get all the main stuff out of the way. And then usually like early afternoon or late afternoon, that's when I can start playing around and do other stuff there as
mm.
well. So that's kind of how I structure my day.
Awesome, awesome. So um based on like you staying up late, does that like affect what you are currently doing? Like you like most people like when they sleep late or maybe they don't wake up early, does that really affect your day when beginning, or how does like staying up waking up early and staying up late really like affect your workflow? Can you hear me all right?
Good question, actually. I think it does yes and no. Like it comes down to the heavier task, like if I was have to like write a landing page or talk to somebody there as well.
Mm,
Yeah, so I think we'll break it a little bit, Alex. You're currently frozen on my screen. Is that we good now?
uh,
We're good?
yeah, all good.
I think internet's cutting out a little bit there.
Mm.
All good now? Yeah,
Can
you're
you can
back
you hear me?
now. Sweet.
Okay.
All good?
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, I can hear you.
All right.
Wi-Fi
All
issues,
right.
eh? Fun
Yeah.
times. Can you
All
hear
right.
me now?
Yeah,
Is
I
it all
can hear you
good?
all right. So you were talking about how like you structure your days, and that's like where we got cut off. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you're asking me about how does like does do
how
I
it
staying up
affects.
late or wake up early? Does it affect how it's affect my day?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, again, I don't know. I think it does happen sometimes, like, when it comes down to like the heavier task and everything. Like for me, I'm not a big fan of copy writing as
Mm,
much as like I really learned from like Alan and everything. But those things probably get a little bit more affected. But I think it comes
mm,
down to like, if you enjoy doing something, like I always like look like doing ideas of researching and again, talking to people. As you probably know, some of my guests on my podcast I had at like 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. my time because they had to match their time in the
Mm-hmm.
US, the
Mm-hmm.
crazy time zones. I think if you enjoy doing something, it just naturally like comes out and drives you there. So yeah, I think that's my answer to that.
Awesome. Awesome. So we've talked about this some time ago, but you started out, you built an agency that you own. Like, what made you decide on, okay, operations, automations, tech, helping businesses with tech was something that you've been called to do? Like, were you testing out different things, or operations was something that you just like found and then you decided upon? So like maybe walking us through like your hero's journey or something of that sort. Like, where exactly do you get started from?
Yeah, no worries. So I think a long time ago I did, sales and direct sales. I tried to sell websites, so I found like a white labeling agency out of the blue and started going like door to door knocking there as well. Then my business partner at the time, we met each other through a networking event. We launched a Facebook ad agency for plumbers and electricians.
Mm-hmm.
And then like it was okay. We didn't really know what we're doing, so we're trying to figure out along the way. But that's the fun part about business. Something you just kind of like say yes to something and say, hey, let's just give it a shot. Let's learn along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Side note, I didn't know that time even to that time that agencies were fairly I guess what we call like saturated market to some extent. And then like,
Mm-hmm.
I think my second like cold email or cold DM on LinkedIn, some guy like messaged me back saying, are you one of those agencies that's gonna charge me like 5 to 6K a month and not do anything? Or give me any leads or like just drain my money. I was like, what do you mean? And then that's why I started digging deeper. Like agencies had a bit of a bad rap in that
Mm-hmm.
industry. But that aside, when COVID hit, a lot of our projects and work kind of slowed down because we're dealing with local businesses. So you mentioned
Mm-hmm.
COVID lockdown, nobody can do anything. So at that time, nobody needed leads. So that's when we decided to pivot towards more like the online coaches, online consultants.
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't too much of a fan. I didn't understand offers. All I understood is like, okay, we need to provide a service. Let's just try to keep like DMing people, running paid ads, etc. And then like while my co-founder are like doing other like freelancing jobs here and there, just keep our bills paid, etc. during the COVID period. Um, and then when COVID ended, a lot of our clients and prospects at that time were like saying, "We actually don't need more leads. There's so many projects that's been backlog." But they said like, "Is there a way we can manage our thing better?" And at the time, we didn't really know what to do. So we said, "Oh, like maybe." At that time, I think Go Hilo was just starting to get quite big. The CRM software or the funnel and stuff like that. And we didn't really understood like a lot of like the back end thing. So it was a lesson learned. But I think the big thing that my business partner and I and the two guys on our team were like, we like systems. We like how to see things move seamlessly from A to B, B to C, that kind of thing. And then we were like, okay, figuring out okay what I want to do. And then we'll figure out okay like what can we sell next. We landed across this other like company that kind of like allow you to resell their software for SEO
Mm-hmm.
using AI as structure to grow businesses. I was like, okay, we can still sell that to keep our things high. And then again, it came down to when I talked to a lot of like startups, solopreneurs, businesses. A lot of times, like the complaint was we kept hearing is that the marketing agency got the freelancer that I am paying to get my leads sorted. They don't want to like help me close the leads properly, or they did not know
Mm-hmm.
how to help the leads nurture it properly, etc. Um, what happens? How do we and how do we do this and do that? And again, it was just very much more like just a spur of the moment. And I turned to my business partner like for coffee one day, saying, "Hey, we like systems. We may not know everything yet, but we like having things and like SOPs and structures in place to make our lives easier." So we're like, okay, let's try this. And that's when I started going around talking to people, talking to consultants that I had my network, and basically just say, hey, um, you're growing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you need more. I reckon you got a lot of leads coming through, but how's those leads going? Like, how's your sales teams closing? Like, I use the owner of the small, medium sized business, like how you're doing for your leads, who looks after the customer. Do you know how to automate a lot of stuff? And that's when it started from there. So Prosperum really pivoted from being a typical marketing agency into more like a process optimization firm. And that's where we
Mm-hmm.
started like building and focusing. Not stressful though, because like a lot of things we also
Yeah.
didn't notice. Like the thing I always tell some people, like I think generally people are very open to talk about how the marketing and sales and lead generations is going. Or you ask them like, how's your backend going? Or how's your operations? They're a bit more hesitant. So I'm so glad that I built like a network of
Mm.
consultants and friends in the industry across different industries. So they allowed me to almost like see behind the scenes and almost like introduce me to this ideal type of clients I want to work with last year in 2024. And yeah, but I mean, it was stressful. Like I think we nearly got a lot of us got burnt out towards the end of it, so we had to like take a step back and pivot from there. So yeah, a
Amazing,
little bit.
amazing. And how long did it take you to like figure out, okay, this is what businesses are struggling with? Because one of the things is like we are starting out like you're starting out any business. One of the things is finding the product market fit. So how long did it take you to see, okay, we are bringing people leads and now they're struggling with this on the back end, and then you started like reaching out to people who might be interested. So how long was it, like years or months or days or weeks?
Good question. I think it came around, I think October or November 2023, where I first joined Nothing Held Back, Alan Sotanich's group. And then I joined his Nothing Held Back Plus. And that's
Mm.
when I started understood offers, and that's when I started playing around with like there's a lot of lead generation, a lot of like acquisition, customer acquisition, client acquisition, branding offers out there, how to run Facebook ads, how to run Google ads, how to run YouTube ads. But
Mm.
then nobody really talked about at that time, like, okay, how do you help close the the leads or the customers better, or how do you make sure
Mm.
that the customer journey or the prospect journey is a lot better there? So
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was like asking Alan. I think even like our friend Josh Gavin also gave me a hard talk. He's like, but not really we want to talk about that, Ian. The first thing that most people talk about is like either in local businesses, lack of lead generation, lack of projects, or more importantly, like high staff turnover. So it was a learning lesson along the way, still learning to this day on how to pivot and launch a proper offer. Because we tried running S one time back in our previous agency and nobody really bought into it because I think we just didn't position the offer in the right way, I think. So I think it's all this trial and error. But I think my skill set at the time was more like business development networking. So I started to understand like how things are going. Even like one of the other projects we were helping with, we tried to bring in a company from China. They specialize in virtual reality software,
Mm.
you know, and say how can we bring it to Australia and some parts of like America, so I have contacts across both countries. And I kid you not, I think I tried bringing it to one of the universities here. I was in an email where I think they CC'd in like 8 or 9 other people in the team of the university. And then like it's like we had to almost get like a sign off from everybody to get the next step going.
Sheesh.
And I was thinking like, wonder why it's taking so long. And because I didn't realize that's like enterprise level, that's government level, that's like, university level. Um, but I was like getting frustrated, like, why is this taking so long? Is there like something going on like culturally or how things are done within Australia? So I think I looked at more like a higher level, was like, okay, how can I create like a system or a process that can cut through all the bureaucracy of all the the ego people like they want to take charge or let's try to control the project, but they don't know what they're really doing, etc. So that's how it all
Dang.
led to that kind of idea. So it's kind of like it's a learning thing. And again, I'm very big on like having making sure teams, contractors, employees are actually doing well in their role. And I think like we went to, I was discussing with the two software engineer guys that helping me build an MVP idea for a software. Um, there's a disconnection between leadership and the staff members. Either the staff
Mm.
members are lazy and not doing their job properly, or they don't have the right tools by the company, or on the other hand, at that side of the spectrum, the leadership is like they're so busy putting out fires, running around with like trying to like manage all the chaos in the business, but they also make decisions based on assumption. But then you also ask them like, have
Mm.
you been onto the front lines, like doing the job for your team or with your team members, like say like in sales or like admin, etc. And like most of the time they'll say no, but they thought it'd be a good idea to implement this new tool to realize later that this tool is this makes the business slower. So that's kind of like all that all that accumulation of like getting feedback, just kind of like, okay, there's got to be some better way of doing this. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah. I worked with a business that's like we're building funnels for them, and everyone on the team would want to like give like for me it wasn't like that big of a deal, like mine was like three people giving advice on, okay, this is how the website will be. So you're getting like different advice, and once like you finish one, another person will reply to the email that, hey, this is something that we want to add. Then So it was like chaos everywhere in the email. So that's like insane. For nine to approve upon the product is like it's crazy.
Exactly. And I think another part that makes it hard is sometimes, the decision maker, like that's the part I'm trying to figure out right now is how to minimize, disagreements within a large decision. Because when we're doing like digitization, automation for this, like small businesses, I keep,
Hmm.
like after hopping off like a 2 hour to 5 hour phone call of like, or Zoom call to onboard a client, we'll say we have you, Alex, the director of the company or the owner of the company. And then once we do the draft and draw the process maps and everything, and we'll take it in. And then we get an email from, say, the ops manager or the head of customer admin or the head of fulfillment going like, no, that's not how we do it. you know? And sometimes they
Yeah.
come back saying, look, oh, the owner doesn't know the whole thing. Like you should come to us as well. So I'll also learn, okay, we need to get people involved. But how do we get people involved to make the bad decision for the company without slowing things down or without having too many
Mm.
opinions in the pot. So it's kind of hard to do that initially. So I think that's what got us a little bit exhausted from last year a little bit. So
Yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's say going back and from what you now know, how would you like structure the conversation with this business owners? Like who would you be reaching out to or who would you be speaking with for the process to be streamlined and without chaos?
Yeah. So I think the key thing I learned from this whole entire thing, I think we learned it from Alan as well, is like before he makes a comment or anybody's like landing page or funnel, he asks what was happening on the page before, right? You have some guys that nothing help. I say, hey, Alan, do you mind critiquing my upsell one page? And he goes, okay, before I do that, can you show me your landing page and then show me your ads and show me like the offer, etc. Right? Or show me the market and everything. So I took that kind of pattern and then applied to this sort of like part of the consulting part is like, okay, before we say we add on a CRM, before we add on like, automation or let's tweak something on the website, like how does it affect the thing prior to this part of the business, and who else would be affected if we were to change it after we implemented this in the business, right? So it goes
Mhm.
back to like what's the core issue we're trying to solve here, like first principles thinking, right? Like the big like successful founders or the guys who've gone through a lot of failures always ask like what we're trying to solve here in the first place.
Mhm.
And we did initially, I think, in like last, we're just so excited to grow. We kind of just said yes to a lot of things without actually understanding the foundational issue, the fundamental issues of what's happening. And sometimes it's not even like a technical or marketing or sales thing. Sometimes it's just, ego in the company. The director is just like, I want to grow my business. I had one guy last year, he said, I want to open up 6 more shops. I was like, but your staff members don't even have a standard operating procedure how to handle this part yet first. Why don't you just solve this one first? And it took him like,
Mm.
7, 8 weeks to finally like sit down and say, you know what, you're right, kind of thing. And
Yeah.
those kind of like, I think those are the issues there. So I think to answer your questions, like, okay, what's the thing you're trying to solve first? Do we need technology? Do we need like software? Do we need AI or chatbot or to help it? If not, sometimes it's even just like saying like we were working another guy and we're asking like, why does it take like 4 or 5 steps to get an invoice approved by the owner of the
Mm.
company, right? And then the operations manager, she said, oh, because when we bought over the business, this is what the previous business owner did. Then I was like, how will we cut down 4 steps to 1 step? That way it saves you guys time, and the
Mhm.
prospect who's waiting for the invoice or for the quote gets it faster and gets more done efficiently. She goes, we haven't tried that before, but that makes sense. So they just kind of tried that. Those kind of like small things I think adds up a lot.
Nice,
I think, yeah.
nice, nice. So at which stage should people should we be like thinking about operations? Because like let's say someone starting out is like they just have maybe enough money to run ads. They don't. It's like a solopreneur. They're just like alone running this office. At which stage should they start thinking, okay, I need to add this systems. I need to add this because from your
Hmm.
conversation, it looks like the people you work with have huge enough teams backing them up with huge enough systems on the back end.
Hmm. Nah, good point. Like the people we're targeting last year and working with last year were actually like, they were already having some sort of lead generation source. They have some sort of sales team going. They actually have like making this much revenue per year. In Australia, it's at least minimum of 1 million AUD of
Mm.
annual revenue. But they have a small team like, like 3 to 10 people, etc. That's where they want to grow to the next level. But if you're
Okay.
running like starting out early on, I think it comes down to your own self, like how disciplined are you to get something done. Like if say if you say, okay, if I'm running my ads by myself, you got to also like structure your day and structure your week. Okay, how am I going to do fulfillment? How am I going to do a call outreach? How am I going to do maintenance kind of thing? When do I do like client or customer calls, etc., to let them know how things are going? I
Mm,
think that's when you start developing a system. And then when you do have like a structure, like even I just use my Google Calendar. I don't use anything fancy. I mean, occasionally I use ClickUp back in the day. But with a big team, that's when we did use some sort of like project management tool like ClickUp, just to kind of like track everything. But if we're doing ourselves, like I think just use Google Calendar, like block out like if you wake up at 6 a.m. and you got somebody to go straight into work, for example, 6 to 10 is just getting the most harder thing out of the way. And then, say, okay, then that's when I go for like a walk. I'll go for breakfast or whatever it is. And then from like 10:30 to 12 is when I actually do like cold outreach or whatever it is. And then from 12 to 3, that's when I do like customer calls, like to let them know what's happening or do reportings, etc. Something like
mm,
that. You got to structure out there. And then when you start growing, you start realizing, oh, I'm getting more um like clients or projects. And if you're getting more revenue first, and that's what we did, we actually closed deals first. And then that's when I started looking, okay, I know some people on network who can guns at like um, doing funnels, running Google ads, for example. Like we're not like I wasn't great at running Google ads at all. Nadia was my previous business partner, but we knew how to like delegate well because we already
mm,
had a structure in place. And then like
mm,
when like we brought in like one of my friends, Matt, who's a better technical guy when it comes to like high level like automation, Zapier. He's like the part of the thing behind it. He just kind of like redirect. It's almost like I think as an operator or somebody running the business, you sort of like take a step back and just let the person do what they're good at, but help them redirect them as well. But
mhm.
how that comes first is like if you have your foundational like structure in place. Otherwise, it's just putting out fire. You end up being like saying like your client. I guess in this case for me, you
Mm,
start putting out fires and you're like, oh my gosh. And it did happen sometimes. I'm not saying it
mm,
was perfect, but having some sort of like discipline structure when you're starting out yourself, and then you get the
mm.
VA, for example. Like I got VA from my podcast editing side of things there. It just becomes a structure from there
Nice,
itself.
nice. I was about to ask you that when starting out and you have like things going on, who should be like the first person you need to, and then just like answer it as like you need to get a VA addition to what you're currently doing.
Yeah, I think it depends. Like I think you gotta find. I mean, there's a lot of people. I mean, I grew up in this understanding. I think we all have. It's like don't make the introverted software engineer guy. The head of management or customer service because that's not their strong suit. They probably get very cranky. Like a friend of mine, he's a fantastic software programmer, but he's quite introverted. So he said, I don't want to become manager. Like I don't think I can suit for that kind of thing. Even one of the guys that worked with us last year, like he had his own agency, did pretty well, but he admitted like
Mhm.
I really, really do not like talking to customers. For me, I enjoy talking to customers, but like I don't want to be hanging so far back that I do not get the direct input or data from the customer or the client. Then that's when I can. But also the fact, um, I'll get back to the main point. But you got to find people who are great at what they do. Like this guy that worked with us ran his own agency, but he actually found out he preferred like this whole like all the automations like Zapier, go high level, ClickFunnels and everything, rather than focus on doing that. So I was like, hey, you focus on that. I focus on customers and the sales and business development and like, the kind of thing. So there's this cool book I read ages ago called Traction. And I think it said for your business to succeed, you need to have a visionary, a bit like a CEO or somebody who can drive the team and the company forward, but you also need somebody who's very good operator, like a project manager kind of stuff that's willing to like do the
Mm.
willing to like get greedy with like the staff or the etc like that. So yeah.
Awesome, awesome. And speaking from what you just said, you have a system where you're able to recognize talent. And how does this like affect in like delegation of like teams, like delegation of tasks in like the agency? Or do you do this for your own agency or you do it for the businesses that hire you as well?
Yeah, I think it comes down to having clear boundaries of how things work. And what I mean by that is like my co-founder at the time, he is very technical because come from an engineering background. So he understood a lot more of the technical side.
Mhm.
I was more like people and more like in more the I guess emotional side of the business. So we complemented it, but of course, later on, as you probably know, he ended up leaving the business. So he
Mm,
kind of like take both roles on. I think it like the way I look at business is like the way you hear from these like successful companies like Apple or Nvidia, etc. They run
mhm,
things quite like a very flat structure, and I don't like the whole bureaucracy where like, there's a direct the CEO directors and then the mid managers and then the junior managers and then the senior staff and then junior staff. I think it just takes a while to get going, and you know the way I even explain how I even like run my cell groups at church is like we look at the whole team as like a pie. Each
mm,
person provides a certain slice of like how big or small it is, but everybody sort of contributes to the entire
yeah,
mission or thing. And I don't really get too caught up like who's right or who's wrong. Like comes down to like what is the right thing to do for the organization or for the company itself. You know,
awesome, awesome.
so that's how I see things. And like I think um I think when even like in the early days I was getting too caught up with the titles. I think a lot of us got caught up with titles like like my co-founder and I at that time were like, oh Ian, you become a CEO, become CEO. But it's like, great, but what are we CEOing and what are you CEOing for? There's only just two of us, you know? Don't get
Yeah,
caught up because if you want to do that, go find a job in a larger company. No offense. Um, and I think I know you don't watch a lot of anime, but there's one anime I like that I always refer to. It's called One Piece,
mm,
and the main character is the captain of a ship, but he's willing to like do the biggest decisions. But on a normal day, he's willing to be goofy and authentic with
mm,
his crew. Like because I'm the captain, you have to obey me. It's like he even gets like smacked around or teased by his crewmates, but they are all working together on one direction. So that's how like I like running things. And even like um if you can create a sort of culture with yourself, and then I think when you the way you do it, and you can talk to other people, I think it will leak up to them as well. So that's kind of how I see that.
nice. And from my research, I know that One Piece has like about 1,000 episodes. So how did did you
It's
start it
been
from when it was airing, or you just like started and binge watch everything?
I think it's like 25 or close to 30 years now, and
Yeah,
he's wrapping it up now. The author, so like it's insane. Are we all good? Did we cut out?
yeah.
I think we cut out a fair bit. Like where we were, what we were talking about just now, I can't
Yeah.
remember.
So
But
we were talking about like One Piece, and then I was saying that he had like the dedication to the craft of like sticking to it for this amount of years plus huge fan base of people like loving. I've not watched it yet, but when I see like the thousand, I just like give up because it's too long.
it is like I think when we cut out, like he plays a long game. I think he's wrapping up the entire series now, and it's on
Yeah.
his final one. But yeah,
Hmm.
I really look up to those kind of like, I take a lot of inspiration from like anime and like stories and stuff like that. It's cool.
Amazing, amazing. And speaking about like, let's backtrack. One of the things that you said was when you reach out to like when you were doing outreach for your agency, there was someone that made a comment that, hey, are you guys the agency who is going to charge 6K, 8K per month and do nothing? How were you able to like overcome that objections early on? Like, what was your process?
Oh man, it totally caught me off guard. So I mean, we didn't close the deal, but
Mm,
we were just saying like, oh, like we didn't like beg or grovel to that prospect. But on a LinkedIn, I just said to him like, oh man, I don't really know. We're quite new, but one thing for sure, we like to focus on like results and see if we're actually a good fit. The client, of course, like use a swear words like you can go away, that kind of thing. Because he got burned before
yeah.
there as well. I mean, and that's a whole thing, and it's hard. So I think if you want to overcome those objections, a lot of times I think we get too freaked out. And for me, I had it longest time. Do we need social proof? Do we need testimonials? But I think if you're curious, and the thing I'm learning now is like if you're curious and willing to work on the long game, on the long run, and like try to like I think they call it like the seven whys. You keep asking why
Mm-hmm.
like seven times, it gets deeper. And
Mm-hmm.
that's when you can actually like emphasize the problem to your prospect. And then you say, would you like me to help you this one? Of course, there'll be some hesitancy. Maybe they will ask for like a deposit. They might ask to put a deposit down or pay you half now, half later, etc. That's kind of like
Mm-hmm.
how we did it. It's more like getting down to
Awesome.
the root cause and not trying to like, I mean, back there's a lot of big guarantees. We grew up with big guarantees. Like, oh, if you don't do this, we'll work for you for free until that happens. But like that's very short term thinking. Because like also another cool mental model I love using and thinking about is like if I make a decision or execute something, what's the second and the third order of things, right? Like the ripple effects.
Mm,
If I were to tell a client like you, Alex, like let me work for you. If it doesn't go well, I'll work for you for free until you get leads or
mm,
get customers. It already puts you in a bad light, I think. And
yeah,
you as a client are probably thinking like, this guy's kind of going to help me. What makes it think that it will help me down later? And are they doing the same to somebody else within the industry, my industry? And
mhm,
like it's a bit unsettling, but you know, uh, a good learning curve there. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So, to kind of like wrap things up, what's project like that you've done for a client that you were like most proud of? Like you entered the business, they had the entire operations like in a mess, and then just got in, and then you started seeing certain things, and then you started fixing them. Like, what exactly were these structures that were missing, and then what's were you able to like help them fix?
Yeah, I think the first one. So when we went to COVID, we started working with a career coach, you know, and because like when he was previously a recruiter and he went full time as a coaching, but of course COVID happened, and all he did was offering was that I think he told me like he offered like 30-minute Zoom calls
Mm,
like every day. So he'll wake up at 5 and keep doing Zoom calls as long as he can do.
wow.
And even before I understood like automatic clients or like upsells and anything, I just said to him, how about like we package your most like common frequently asked questions into like a digital book or something. Back then books were like, or lead magnet was the big thing, right? And then we did that fun for him, and then we kind of provide some solutions. I mean, he runs a cool recruiting company now, but he started out as a career coach, so we're basically able to remove that, reduce his hours from like 65% because he's wake up early and staying up late to talk to people from across Australia and other parts of the world, and we're able to actually like increase his like revenue to like 10.5K actually.
Nice.
Yeah,
Amazing.
so packaging, like I didn't understand like mid ticket, high ticket. All I understood was like lead magnets and high ticket courses, high ticket
Yeah.
programs back then. So that's how we
Yeah.
did it. And then that's one thing that was cool. I actually enjoyed that one. And then another one was like, we did help, like a lot of trading companies last year basically is reducing their operational overhead because a lot of times I think, especially automations and operations, people think about I need more leads, I need more customers. But in this economy we're going through right now, how about if we can help you save revenue leaking through your businit's? Because every
Mm,
dollar saved is a dollar earned. So we're
yeah.
able to reduce a lot of operational overhead by 37% roughly for some of these clients we work with. So it's pretty good. And then like helping like other people in the past, like basically build better offers and stuff. So it was all like true trial and error.
For anyone interested in what you do, like what's next for you right now for your agency, for yourself personally or for the podcast.
Yeah, so the podcast definitely was a good one because after like mentioned before, we got a little bit burnt out by the offer we did last year. A lot of heavy
Mm,
lifting in that sense. Um, the podcast really helped me to also like see what else is out there, and like connecting guys like you, a lot of people around the world, etc. Um, Definitely still on the publishing path as well, similar to what you offer as well, but more so rather than fulfillment, like trying to make the deal and then trying to find people that align with a long-term sort of vision. But after much prayer and also like even like last 2 weeks, I was just sitting down like asking myself like what I really want to do actually. What really
yeah.
not say I won't say passion because passion like is one thing, but really what really I want to see help impact is like goes back to the whole thing about process optimization and helping like it sounds weird, but like helping businesses craft better SOPs for their own side of things. Because like I've been on both ends. I work, as an employee. I work with directors and owners. I've been in both shoes myself across my time as my career. So I understand there's a lot of disjointment there as well. So, as well, big kudos to you, Alex, for reminding me that hey, we need to actually like when we launch digital offers, it needs to solve the immediate most painful problem there.
Mm,
So my goal is to launch an offer to I was going to build more cash flow because I'm
yeah.
currently just doing a lot of like consulting, a lot of like stuff now since my co-founder left the
Mhm.
company. But also like potentially launching a minimal viable product or something that can solve it as well. So like the way I see it is that I think not just disjointment between say leadership teams and employees within a company, but I also see a lot, these people sometimes they pay for external consultant or a coach.
Yeah.
It's very expensive one, and sometimes these consultant coach may not necessarily understand the whole business.
Hmm.
And I think number two is like now with this AI era, there's a lot of AI consultants, a lot of AI automation agencies.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is like, yes, you can optimize and solve one area of business, but are you able to solve, going back, we discussed A to Z? You can solve A and B, but C and D are not optimized themselves or not upgraded to handle, say, more leads, for example. Would business then potentially collapse, that kind of thing? So I'm trying to build something that can understand fundamental core issues of a small medium enterprise company or even larger company.
Mm.
Allows to provide real time data back to the leadership team to make better decisions there as well. Because
Awesome.
sometimes it's very easy for us, including ourselves, to like say, oh, I want to add that CRM, I want to add in that project management tool, I want to add in that chatbot, but we don't understand how that affects everybody within the team. It sounds a bit grandiose, but I think it could be something worthwhile in the future.
Yeah. And one of the things most people who are just like starting out in like building office, you don't understand is you really need cash flow to actually promote the office, because let's say you have no audience, you have no like you have no audience and want to start own office for yourself in regards to like publishing yourself, the best thing that you need to have is like enough cash flow to like test things out, because it's not going to work on the first try. You have to like test and see what works. And I'm really excited about the offer that you are currently working on. I'm like looking forward to like seeing how it performs and get to help more people in the agency space, in the investor space, in the B2B space. So yeah, really looking forward to that.
And as you probably know from all of my WhatsApps to you, there's a lot of different ideas I have.
Yeah.
Just got like, and like you said to me, like just focus on one. Even with the publishing side, like I love Josh Gavin, what he's built together, but I mean the publishing side is definitely more for like like a mid to long term thing as well, no,
Mm,
because it's not like immediate cash flow. So, yeah, like definitely gonna take that advice. Just focus on one thing for now. In the meantime, like I put together a cold email engine,
nice.
as I mentioned to you, to kind of focus on the publishing side.
Yeah.
And then if any deal comes through, just send it to somebody who wants to do the fulfillment, that kind of thing. And yeah, continue growing the podcast for sure.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you so much, In, for making the time to speak with me. And then thanks for sticking with me. It's all like the chaos of tech, and then we started
That's
out
okay. Yeah, it
the
happens.
Wi-Fi
It
was
happens, man.
just blowing up. But thank you so much for speaking with us today. Really appreciate it.